Hey everyone, I'm Tyler Metcalf and I watch the film so you don't have to. On this video, we're taking a look at Paul McNeil. McNeil is a 6'5 shooting guard returning to North Carolina State for his sophomore season. Last year, he barely got any minutes for the bulk of the year, but down the stretch, he had one of the most impressive ends to the season of anyone in the country as he found a way to impact the game with or without the ball, with or without scoring, and on both ends of the floor. McNeil is an intriguing second side creator with some fun passing flashes, a really encouraging shot, and some really promising defensive upside. Let's dive into the tape, see what McNeil thrived at last year, where he still needs to improve, and what type of upside he still has as he heads into his sophomore year. Welcome to Film School. Let's dive in. Hopefully this year McNeil continues to grow into more of an on-ball creator and decision maker because there's some really encouraging stuff in there, highlighted by his 20.1 assist rate last year and turnover rate of just 8.6. But at his core, he's still just a shooting guard. And when I say just a shooting guard, that belittles it. But at his core, based on what we saw last year, McNeil's a really well-rounded off-ball two guard. And while there's some fun creation stuff that we'll get into, the most prominent place that he showcases those capabilities is as an off-ball shooter. Now, this last year, McNeil ranked in just the 35th percentile shooting off the catch and shot just 31.3% from three, but in spot-up situations, he was in the 54th percentile and shot 36.7% from three. Additionally, on all jumpers, he was in the 74th percentile, the 98th percentile shooting off the bounce, 95th percentile at the rim. But with all these numbers, it's really crucial to remember that it's an incredibly small sample size with McNeil, as he had a minute share of just 16.7% last year. So take them all with a grain of salt. Instead of focusing on the numbers, let's just look at some of the process and how McNeil does such a good job of naturally just drifting into these open pockets to create shots for himself and improve passing lanes for his teammates. So he's spotted up here in the corner. Obviously, the passing lane is taken away, so he just does a nice job of just drifting baseline a little bit behind the defender into this open pocket, creating that mid-range catch and shoot opportunity for himself. Here, as his teammate gets blitzed out of the pick and roll, McNeil lifts up out of the corner to improve the passing lane, make himself available to the ball handler, and now put his defender in a situation where he has to rotate over to tag the roller, which gives McNeil just a little bit more space and allows the roller to initiate the screen for McNeil that he can now just step into that basically wide open three. Similar situation, we see him do a really nice job of, as they run this empty corner pick and roll, McNeil's going to circle out, run off of that traffic, spot up on the opposite wing, quick release, really good mechanics. So even though he shot just 31.3% off the catch this last year, his low volume and the mechanics and the touch and the way that he gets into his shots is really encouraging, especially given the volume with 13.1 3-point attempts per 100 possessions. Here, again, just a really simple relocation where he's in the opposite corner, just does a really good job lifting up out of it, shortens that passing lane, allows his teammate here to set a screen for him, get in the way of that defender, give him just an extra step, extra second to get a really clean look off. Really similar thing here again, as Wake blitzes this pick and roll, McNeil's over here on the weak side. His defender's going to rotate over to tag the roller. McNeil could have just stayed where he was out here on the elbow, but if he did, that's a much harder pass for his teammate to make and gives his defender even more time to recover. Instead, by lifting up here, he makes that passing lane more favorable for the ball handler, improves it, makes it shorter, and makes the distance that the defender has to recover a little bit more difficult. Confident, short closeout, lets it fly without hesitation. So at a minimum, even though McNeil didn't have the most prolific shooting numbers last year, the process and how he got into those shots is really replicable, and I would expect those numbers to look way more encouraging this year. Now, a bigger role for McNeil this year doesn't mean just throwing the ball in his hands and letting him run the offense, but for starters, just playing him. would be a good start, because there's a reason he had a 6.8 BPM last year in incredibly low minutes. But by incorporating him more into the offense as a secondary creator, as a second side creator, there's a lot of really fun stuff that he can do, because that shooting threat forces long closeouts. And while he's not the most explosive athlete, he's really good with his off ball movement, really good at change of pace dribbling, and isn't afraid to put guys in jail and play with a bit of physicality. As that second side creator, McNeil offers North Carolina State a ton of scoring versatility, as he can get to the rim, finish through contact, and be absolutely lethal in all three levels, especially off the bounce. He doesn't need acres of space either. He's got a quick release, isn't afraid of contact, can draw fouls, and there are also some really high level decision making with his passing reads. It's not overly flashy, not the kind of passing and playmaking that we would hope to see from a potential primary creator, a potential pseudo point guard, combo guard, but more of a legitimate shooting guard, more of a two guard who can be that complementary playmaker, set guys up, run off screens, DHOs, and then make the right read based on what the defense gives him. So here we can see him spotting up in the corner, and that threat of that off-ball shooting draws the long closeout. McNeil attacks the high foot, turns Cadeau around. McNeil immediately recognizes that he has Cadeau. He has his momentum going the opposite way towards the rim. His hips are turned. He's off balance, and McNeil's going to toy with it, plants that right foot, steps back, generates a bunch of space, rises up. Great mechanics, really consistent, whether it's off the bounce or the catch. High release point, drops in the step back jumper. Here we see him run off a DHO. RJ Davis goes over, and McNeil does a really good job of slamming on the brakes. This is really good defense by North Carolina. They're playing at the level, not giving him a ton of space. Davis is staying attached. McNeil doesn't rush it. He stays composed, puts Davis in jail, forces the drop defender to make a decision, has the strength to hold off Davis, veers back into him, rushes the shot a little bit here. Don't love the long floater, but does a really good job of putting the defender in a disadvantageous position, and he still gets the floater to fall. Now we're running him off a screen into a DHO. Defender goes way under. Cool. Slam on the brakes. Now we're going to pull up from three, drop that in. So we've seen him manipulate and execute and toy with defenders while running off of screens in multiple ways, where if they go over, cool, he's going to put you in jail and knock down a mid-range pull-up. You go under, cool, he's going to slam on the brakes, pull up from three. You close out long or sloppily, and he's going to attack that momentum. Defender's high in his stance, gives McNeil that driving lane. He gets downhill, secures the ball through the help defense, has the strength to hold off his primary defender, and then the balance, the coordination, the athleticism to avoid the help rotation, change his release point, and finish through the contact on the other side of the rim. I love the off-ball movement on this one. First, great cut. Ball's already kind of coming out of his teammate's hand. Unfortunate, but high hand. Really, really good cut. If his teammate holds that for a split second longer or is looking at McNeil, that's an easy layup. Instead, McNeil doesn't give up on the play, immediately circles back out, relocates, fills the space that was just vacated, doesn't clog up the lane, runs off the screen, gets the screen again, and now shot fake, toy with the defender, get him turning, flipping his hips. It looks a little tough, but I love the crossover, spin back against his momentum, and I know fadeaway mid-range pull-ups aren't in vogue right now, but that's a really good look, and the way that he makes his defender work throughout this possession is really high level and really important stuff from a two guard, because first off, great off-ball movement, great cut, relocation, and now he shows off the handle, the balance, the footwork, the ability to regain that balance in midair on the jumper. Mechanics are exactly the same every single time. Rises up, knocks down a really tough shot. Second side pick and roll. That's just a big time shot. Not creating a ton of space here. Denies the screen. Defender's trying to cheat over. He attacks downhill. Defender cuts him off. Just steps back. Rises up. High release point. Easy money. off-ball roll here. Hunter Salas playing tight on him, and Salas does a really good job. McNeil doesn't get the shot to fall, but I love the process. I love the aggressiveness and not shying away from physicality. The change of pace here, hesitation, slams on the brakes, stop, start, keeps Salas on his hip, keeps him off balance, doesn't allow him to get between the ball and the rim, ends up drawing the foul, doesn't get the bucket, but really good job getting the foul. Goes to initiate the DHO, catches both defenders trying to cheat on it, realizes, all right, that's all the space he needs, and happily rises up, knocks down the three. The confidence and the quick decision making, the quick release, and especially this his step back, planting that right foot, stepping back to his left, really comfortable. He generates a lot of space off of it, and even though he isn't the quickest, most explosive downhill athlete, the way that he's able to put defenders in jail and play physical, get to the line, draw fouls, keeps them on their heels, keeps them honest, and then allows him to generate these types of step back looks where he is able to generate a good amount of space off of them and go into the side. And then finally, this is the type of stuff that I think he has a real extra level to unlock with the secondary playmaking stuff. So empty corner, DHO, pick and roll, whatever you want to call it, comes out of the corner, draws both defenders, quickly reads it, doesn't force anything here, just reads what the defense is giving him, kicks back to his teammate for an open corner three, knocks it down, really good luck. So McNeil, you never say never, but I don't think he has primary creator upside necessarily, but what he's shown and how he can get to his different shots, create for others off of movement, attacking closeouts, second side pick and roll, it's really high level stuff, playmaking and shot creation that we see from a lot of two guards in the NBA. And if he's able to maintain similar types of volume or similar levels of efficiency with his shooting, scoring, and playmaking numbers on significantly higher volume, he's going to skyrocket up draft boards. While there's a lot to love about McNeil's off-ball creation, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done, primarily with how rushed some of his decision-making can get when he gets into the middle of the floor. And he's a little too susceptible to getting baited into these really long floaters. We saw him knock down one or two in the previous clips, but these aren't good shots. These aren't situations that he should be settling for. So comes off the screen, love the crossover, get back against his defender's momentum, keeps the low dribble through the steal attempts. So far, so good. Up until this point, really perfect from him. Here, he just rushes the floater. Instead, and he's got a teammate out here in the corner as the drop defender steps to him, either keep that dribble alive and then head fake and counter and get to the rim, or dump it off to your teammate, but wide open in the corner. Instead, he rushes it. He gets a little flustered by being in traffic and settles for a really, really long, tough floater with a hand in his face. Not the shot that you want to be taking. Again, runs off double drag, good screen, ton of space here. Drop defenders really deep. And instead of slowing it down, putting his defender in jail, drawing that out, allowing his screener to either drift a little more to create an even more open look or roll into the empty corner that I guess his other teammates now occupying, but instead drawing that out or just kicking back to him right now. Just a nice little pocket pass, a little shovel pass. He again settles for this really long floater running mid-range pull-up. It's not the shot you want. Drop defender is able to get a decent contest, and he doesn't come close to blocking it, but hand up, and it's just not the shot that you want as an offense. So in these situations, McNeil's shown flashes of putting his defender in jail and being patient and waiting for something to present itself, whether it's a layup or a foul or a kick out to a teammate or a dump off to a roller. He just has to do it way more consistently if he's really going to emerge into more than just an off-ball scorer. Finally, McNeil, the area where McNeil could sneakily make his biggest impact is on the defensive end. Now, His defensive playmaking numbers aren't going to shock you. They're not going to blow you away. But as a team defender specifically, as an off-ball defender, he is almost always exactly where he needs to be when he needs to be there. His commitment to tagging and recovering, to making rotations, communicating switches and rotations was impeccable, especially for someone who played as little as he did. He did such a good job of staying engaged on that end of the floor. On ball, his fundamentals need to get a little more sharp or a little sharper, a little bit more polish on that end. He's a little too prone to getting a little happy feet and more specifically rising up out of his defensive stance and crossing his feet. If he's able to be a little more consistent with his on-ball defense this year, sitting down in a stance, sliding his feet like we see right here, there's some really high-level outcomes for his tape. Maybe not with his defensive metrics in terms of blocks and steals, but the overall effectiveness. Because he's not afraid to get up into ball handlers, has quick feet, has quick hips, but just gets a little happy feet, a little too high in his stance, but stays between the ball and the rim. Doesn't get a block here, but decent contest, force a tough mid-range pull-up. Ball handler makes a shot. It's going to happen, but the process and the overall effectiveness, it's what you want to see. Here, as his teammate, or as his assignment circles out, does a really good job of keeping his head up on a swivel, identifying what's going on with the rest of the play and not just focusing on his guy. That allows him to tag the roller here as his teammate is blitzing the pick and roll. And since he tags him and really commits to it, and doesn't just kind of show and then get out of there, by committing to it, he takes away that passing option for the ball handler, and as the pass is made, closes out under control, great feet, high hand, allows his teammate to recover, and now the offense has to reset. Help dig here forces the double dribble. Really good defensive possession. Really similar thing here. Weak side corner. Well, I guess starts as strong side pick and roll, turns into weak side, but does a good job identifying that that's his tag, reacts to the pass, closes out under control, high hand, shooter makes a shot. It's going to happen, but good process. Solid closeout here, but still a little too high. We can see him a little too high in his stance, a little bit of happy feet, has to turn, flip his hips and chase, cross his feet. You don't love it, but he's still able to get back in between the ball and the rim, cuts off the drive, forces the tough shot, forces the miss, but it could be a lot sharper. Here we see him now on the weak side, tag, recover, close out, low stance, good feet, high hand, solid contest, gets a little into the shooter. They don't call a foul. Heck of a shot. But the overall recognition and the commitment to doing the little things like tagging, recovering, sliding his feet, playing with his chest, not being afraid of contact and physicality, it's an important aspect to McNeil's defense. There's still a lot to improve on, but the way that he thinks and processes on that end of the floor is highly encouraging for him to continue to grow into much more than just an off-ball shooter, just an off-ball scorer. If he's able to make those strides, he could be a really crucial defensive piece for this North Carolina State team. So where does that leave us with Paul McNeil? The North Carolina State sophomore shooting guard has the opportunity to really skyrocket up boards, whether that means first round, top 20, top 10, who knows? There's so many question marks with this draft, and there's going to be a lot of talent among the returning players. McNeil should be at the top of a lot of those lists, especially if he continues to really build on how he ended the last month of his season. If he's able to take what he showed in those games, build on it with a really strong summer, and then carry that into the regular season throughout the entire year, McNeil could be one of the most intriguing shooting guards in the 2026 NBA draft. He's a solid off-ball shooter. There's a lot of scoring versatility with his ability to run off screens, spot up, run the second side pick and roll, get to the rim, pull up in the mid-range, create space by toying with his defender's momentum. If he's able to continue to slow down the game mentally, there's a lot of playmaking and a lot of off-ball shot creation upside in his game. Additionally, defensively, just has to focus on continuing to do the little things, get a little sharper and more polished with his footwork and his fundamentals, and committing to sitting down in his stance. When he does, the physicality and the footwork are really impressive. But off the ball, he is constantly communicating, constantly making the right rotations, being where he needs to be, covering for his teammates, and just being that all-around good defender, even though some of the individual block and steal numbers may not scream, holy cow, this guy's elite. But what he does between the tape, between the stats, it all screams he knows how to defend. He does the little things on both ends of the floor. And if he's able to carve out a really substantial role, like he should, and carry over the incredibly impressive numbers that he showed last year in minimal opportunity, McNeil has every opportunity to be one of the biggest breakout candidates for the 2026 NBA draft.